In the past couple of years, artificial intelligence has become a household term. It has inspired and catalyzed advances in education, research, healthcare, agriculture, and creative industries. This year, the Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded to John Hopfield and Geoffrey Hinton for foundational discoveries and inventions that enable machine learning with artificial neural networks. The Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded to David Baker for computational protein design and Demis Hassabis and John Jumper for protein structure prediction. However, there have been numerous debates, controversies, ethical issues, and concerns about the future impact of AI, particularly generative AI. The opinions of experts, users, and commentators are divided. Today, I am going to discuss the current status and future impacts of generative AI with one of our experts, Dr. Karthik Sindhya. Dr. Karthik was an AI strategist at Solita and is currently the lead scientist in Kone's global R&D division. Hi Karthik, welcome for a discussion on generative AI today. A year ago, we have discussed about various aspects of AI, its impacts and application in education, research, healthcare, and creative industries. However, recently there has been tremendous amount of uh, attraction and attention for generative AI. So we would like to know your opinion on the current aspects, the future impacts, and various ethical issues surrounding generative AI.
Yeah, thanks, Napa, for inviting me, and it's always glad to be it's always glad to be here and chatting on some of these upcoming topics, so that it's beneficial for wider audience.
Yes. You worked as an AI strategist and currently lead data scientist at Kone. So, based on your experience for a common man, how generative AI is different from AI?
Yeah, it's a very good question because AI has been there for several years, but only recently we will see that there is quite a lot of um, focus on how AI is impacting us and in different ways. So I would say that artificial intelligence has come a long way in relatively short time. So to to understand the impact of today's cutting edge generative AI, which is dominated by these large language models, and I think the wider audience would know this because of ChatGPT, which is kind of it's like become like a Word and Excel for office use now. So it's kind of must that you are using ChatGPT on everyday basis, and so it's also good to understand where we have come from. So let's say if I say the different from AI means that is the booming large language model era, and now. I mean, in the previous, let's say, if you a couple of years back, so well, of course, even today, the traditional machine learning is one of the most beneficial. Is the one which creates maximum impact for many companies and industries, even though there is a boom of generative AI. But if you see these traditional machine learning algorithms, they are mostly designed for very specific tasks. For example, if you want to identify, suppose if an email is a spam or not, so you need to develop a model which detects these spam emails. And similarly, for example, if you want to recognize faces, so you need a specialized image recognition model. So the challenge here is that the systems could only do one special thing really well. And if you need a new task or if you want to implement something new, then you have to build a completely new model. Or you can, okay, there is also transfer learning, so you can use other models. And then there is, so what does it mean? So it means that we need, there is quite a lot of manual effort needed. And AI models relied heavily on human involvement to figure out what are the features that are important for this model. For example, some AI engineers might have to look into manually to decide how many number of exclamation, for example, exclamation points would have be if they are present in an email, we can categorize them as a spam. So while these are still groundbreaking, I would say, but they have had a lot of challenges. Now, if we fast forward today, what has happened because of generative AI and some of the GPT models is that we have a whole new ball game now here. So instead of focusing on one specific task, no, we have a model which is trained on massive amount of diverse data, ranging from books, databases, almost the entire internet, let's say, as an example. And so this has enabled them to understand language in a much more flexible way. And we can now categorize them as kind of a general purpose AI assistants. And you can use the same model to write a story, to categorize an email, and even generate the script for today's podcast, let's example. And everything can be done using the same model. And you don't need to train these models from scratch every time to produce this new content. So I would say what makes them really powerful these days is their ability to generate new content. I think, and it's not restricted to just classify or predict. And so that basically, I would say that in the pre-LLM area, if you consider kind of Indian trains as express trains, now the new language model are the new Vande Bharat trains now. So they have more facilities, and they can they are going at a higher speed, and they are much more accommodative, let's say.
Yes, great. So you already explained the point that I was interested, like what makes them more exciting, and the summary is that nowadays the systems can do multitasking, and more tasks can be done much faster and more like humans. So I came across a report in 2023 by McKinsey and Company, and their report showed that AI, generative AI, particularly as the productivity frontiers or the future productivity enabler. And one of the point they had that uh, this as a technology catalyst. So therefore, I'm interested to know what are the social impact and economic impact of generative AI.
Um, yeah, that's let's see. As I said, that there has been kind of quite a lot of impact of and the future has been quite exciting with generative AI because people have been writing codes or entire programs and applications using generative AI. And for artists and marketing people, they suddenly got really more creative. And in office, they every day writing emails and summarizing meetings has just become like a breeze of ease now. And so this has driven the productivity factor in many companies. And I was actually in one of our AI community meetings in Kone. Fadzar was actually saying that they are not even measuring in terms of just about euros, but it's also about people well-being. People are just more happier in the company because of generative AI, because they have been more productive, and it's just helps them to balance their work-life balance much better. And this is much more than measuring just in kilo euros. And these kind of impacts have been widely seen among industries. Of course, it has been driving innovations in healthcare and education as such. But socioeconomic is, let's say, one of the most important things which I have come across once was in agriculture. And actually, in Microsoft India, they have I don't remember exactly the chatbot name, but maybe we can put that in the comments section. But the Microsoft with the Indian government, they have implemented AI powered chatbot which can converse with our farmers in multiple languages. And suddenly the farmers have been able to use WhatsApp and chat through voice, and the language model is deciphering what is being asked, and is going to use what are the different options available or the subsidies available from the government to the farmer, and it gives them real-time kind of answers immediately in their local language. And in this way, the farmers across India have been really benefiting with the use of such AI-powered chatbots, and it has helped them to suddenly come out of maybe debts, use more subsidies more wisely, and probably ultimately, I think someday the number of suicides in farmers might ultimately be even be decreasing because of this chatbot, which is available all the time, 24/7 on their WhatsApp. And these all these things have been achievable because of generative AI. And of course, it has been quite beneficial in finance sector, boosting productivity there. And I think one of the most important things which is also impact is in education sector, because suddenly the older way of conducting examinations and education is no more valid, and then we have new ways of learning, and it has also helped the teachers to actually tailor the education material much better for each individual's capacity. And these are quite interesting. So I use ChatGPT quite often to help my kid to understand things better, try to retell what I was going to say in much better so that she understands. And I would say that it has basically been able to democratize education, and most important, bridge knowledge gaps among people. And I think education is one of the most exciting sector which probably this is creating. And of course, healthcare. It has been also AI-based diagnostics, treatment plans, and also an interesting chatbot for doctors and nurses to help them to diagnose things much better using the vast amount of data. So in this, I think that there are quite a lot of the impact on Gen AI. I would say more positively in the wider society.
That is very interesting. The chatbot you were telling about, Microsoft and Government of India partnered, it's called, I just checked, it's a Jugalbandi. And
Yeah,
that
it's called
gives you
Jugalbandi.
the Jugalbandi and gives real-time feedback, and they can get. And I think in academic, it is really exciting because teachers and students can get and give real-time feedback. You can handle everything remotely. It's a large number of uh, teaching and the classes, and no more tools for more digital tools can be created, and I think it makes the learning much more exciting, and learning will be made much more easier, especially for those. We have, if you talk about in higher education, we have a lot of instruments which is not accessible maybe 0.1% of students. So now how to make it accessible? Maybe this is a great way to use this. So that's why I'm asking. You said there is a lot of benefit. There are a lot of benefits coming in the future. How to maximize the utilization of this, and to utilize what are the current limitations and challenges?
Yeah, I think it's already the companies have been quite open in releasing the free tier version. So people have been using ChatGPT. You don't need a pro version; you can use it. So, and Microsoft across companies, they are providing these co-pilots which are free to use. So in that way, it's these tools have been more accessible to everyone, regardless of where you are, I suppose. So, but of course, they have some limitations, let's say, and challenges. So if you say technical limitations, I would say knowledge constraints. But some of the language models have like static knowledge, so they have cutoff dates until which the information has been fed. So more detailed information, of course. Perplexity and ChatGPT themselves, they can pull more data from web now, and in this way they have been more they know better what kind of information is available across the internet, and they pull you to get this kind of information. But still, they are quite limited in terms of scope of how much they can access. But I like Perplexity very much, so I'm a daily user of Perplexity. It's kind of interesting that how fast things replace. So I haven't used Google search for over 6 months now. So I use everything in Perplexity, which is fantastic for us, and it's also nice that an Indian guy who has been able to come up with something which is works so well, and I didn't think that Google was so easily challengeable in this area. But of course, knowledge constraints, amount of data there, and the training data requires updates. And Of course, there are a lot of incorrect responses. And I read somewhere that there are approximately 54% incorrect responses for programming questions, and overall error rate for general inquiries is like around 36%. So still there is, if you don't know anything, so you actually uh, would are learning the wrong things. And this is quite an important thing um, when 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 we are using such chat gpt. And of course the computational issues, it's basically the token limits, of course, now, and there are power requirements and these kind of things, but things are getting more people are using, and still these are quite a lot of heavily subsidized from Microsoft and everyone. So until now it's quite accessible, let's say. But if you say the ethical challenges, of course, there is bias and fairness. It inherits
Yeah.
the bias from its training data,
Yeah.
and so there is quite a lot of
I will. I will. I will come to that point. Before that, because you said now you are not using Google search for almost 6 months or so. Do you think that this all search engines will disappear, or what will be the fate of search engines?
yeah, it's a good say, but well, search doesn't disappear, but it's just that the way how we access information. So because anyway, if you have to search something, you have multiple options, and then you have to search among the multiple options, click on everything, where is the correct answer, and then you have a question, and to get that answer to a question, there are multiple steps. But Perplexity is kind of condensing that, and gets it directly to the question and answer. And in this way, the time you spend is limited, and then you get directly to the answer. Of course, maybe sometimes it doesn't find the correct answer, then you need to go to Google search. But I think Perplexity is getting really better quite fast. I don't. I think they are on a positive growth.
Yeah. Perplexity was, I think it was open even before OpenAI released ChatGPT. So it's really good, and it gives you almost rather accurate link for the references if you search scientific topics. So I have used it to check and verify whether it works. It did already more than a year ago, 2 years already, and yes.
Yeah.
Um, Now, as you discuss, it seems that the AI systems are becoming more smarter, and at some point, it may become smarter than human. This has been the concerns for AI safety campaigners and also the experts. For example, Jeffrey Hinton is the Nobel laureate for physics this year, um, and is also considered as one of the three godfathers of AI. And he also received this Turing Prize given in computer science. It's equivalent to the Nobel Prize in computer science. So he resigned last year, saying that there can be an existential threats if they become, really smart. Uh, then yesterday, I read a news article also about Jeffrey Hinton, his interview in BBC Radio 4. And he, of course, said that this can happen. Maybe chances are that there can be a threat of 10 to 20% for next maybe 30 years. Um, then he said that it will be the future that a more intelligent thinker or system will be handled by a less intelligent thinker. That means we will handle AI systems. AI will be much smarter than us. So that will be the one risk that is there. And some of the bad actors can use it because it will be much smarter and it can be used to harm others. So these are his concern, and this may be the concerns of many regulatory uh, policymakers and campaigners, and safety issues comes. So how do you see these ethical and regulatory issues, and how they are coming up, and how to protect and how to use it more ethically and correctly?
Yeah, I think there are always people uh, who are voicing concerns, and it's very important for such voices to come up so that people understand um, the future, one possible future of many possible futures that might come up. And I think it's all about addressing our values. The fundamental issues probably here are there is difficulty in aligning with human values, uh, and there's a challenge of regulation here. And I think if you see this, our European Union is actually one of the let's say pioneers in bringing up the EU Act, which basically establishes comprehensive kind of regulations to address ethical concerns and ensure there is a responsible AI development in EU. Although there are challenges that it hampers innovation and these things, but I think on a corner style, it's anything unhindered is always a danger. So it's always good to have some AI acts, and then okay, it's good that you have one AI act, and over the years you can try to modify and make it such that it works for us. But in that way, I really like how EU has thought of this and kind of provide a benchmark for the entire world to kind of see how responsible AI development can be done. And if you just see it on a higher level, so it means that they are following a risk-based framework. So there are 4 levels there. So the first level is basically in the 4-tier risk classification. If you say take any AI, so they say that there is an unacceptable risk kind of applications. So they are completely banned, such as real-time social monitoring, and these unacceptable risks are those AI systems that pose a clear safety to humans, the livelihoods of humans, and most important, human rights. And these come under this kind of unacceptable risk. And of course, the government and they have permission under certain clauses, but generally, me and you and some companies cannot use this. For example, real-time social monitoring. That means that AI systems cannot use real-time biometric identification in public places, such as facial recognition for mass surveillance, let's say. So these are not allowed in the European Union. And social scoring. For example, you cannot score somebody because based on their background and then provide certain their whatever loans or whatever it is. So these are not. This leads to discriminations, and these are not kind of allowed. So this is unacceptable risk, and then we have the high risk level, and this requires very strict oversight and compliance from the companies which provide these kind of things. And um, so these impact safety and fundamental rights, uh, but they require strict oversight and compliance. So some examples here are employment decisions. So when you are hiring some people, so you resume screening and so evaluate. So these require very clear. It's a high risk category where people may be biased due to discrimination, so they need to be properly oversight is necessary for such systems. And critical infrastructure. So AI system that are used in electricity or in water supply or in elevators. So these some of them are the critical infrastructure management. So when it comes to them, then it's a high risk system, and there we need to kind of see how there is a proper oversight on that. And then the limited risks. So basically, AI systems with minimal impact on individual rights or safety are subject to transparent applications and chatbots. So they don't have any much risk. AI-driven customer service agents that must disclose, but the most important thing that they should disclose that it's coming from the non-humans, and then the AI generated content. So these are limited risks and minimum risks. These some AI systems have no impact or negligible impact on humans or this kind of let's say human rights and these kind of things. And for example, spam filters, AI in video games. So these kind of examples where, so in this way we have quite strict uh, levels where we classify, and to do transfer for transparency we have there is mandated disclosure of AI generated content, and then we have a documentation of training data we have used, and then there is a compliance for data protection using GDPR, and then there are risk assessments and human oversight for critical systems. So in this way, AI EU has basically have a very nice risk-based classification where it puts in people different AI systems into different thing, and then they are monitored and oversight is done. So that's very one, and EU is also very serious about this. And there is like I think it's about 15 million euros up to you get violations fine, or even it's a 3% of the global annual turnover for common violations. And for prohibited practices, if you do, it's even 7% of global annual turnover. So it's a quite a hefty money which you need to pay fine if you don't follow the EU Act properly.
Yes, that's very important because it has to be used ethically, particularly with the copyright-related issues and human rights violation, as well as the currently there's a lot of deepfake and plagiarism related concerns. So I think these kind of policies and regulations, which will be continuously evaluated and updated, are important. My next question is that you say I also told about the productivity enhancement. You did discuss about the productivity and health also improved in the workplace. So far, I think the most of the AI application has been particularly not in the higher level decision making or collaboration. That is very important. For example, if you talk about research or even the in the industries, they want to automate, for example, collaboration. It can be collaboration related to work, or it can be collaboration really between big decision making groups, or like some hiring decision that can be automated. So did that already happen, or is there something on that, or is it a future possibility that these things can be completely automated? So I want to
Mm.
know what are the future perspective in generative AI, where it can contribute, which has not been contributing yet. Whether there
Yeah,
are
so
any
it's
possibilities.
a yeah, I think it's a very good question. So I think recently there has been significant advances in using AI agents. So and these have been quite quite an important topic where AI agents are used in many different areas, and AI powered assist they are expected to become mainstream, performing complex tasks like booking travel for you. So you just have to say where you want, and the AI agents are basically looking into different options. They make decisions for you, and then they even try to book tickets and everything. So and this kind of AI agents are kind of a future now. So and we have a uh, lot of let's say advances in this area to go it. Okay, if I say 100% automation, so let's see how it happens. We don't want that, but at least it basically helps us to get more productive. So I think this is very important area where AI agents are thing. And I would say that, as you said, that healthcare, social media, education is probably one of the my most important kind of things where we are doing. And also in companies we are using. Okay, we are talking about generative AI, but at the same time, in many companies, the data is one of the is the most important thing. And is the data in the right format? And do we have a proper data platform where we can use the data? So it's basically, if you have bad data, and so it's basically you have wrong bad models and bad applications. So the data is one of the most important key, and we are getting there. And then for example, at Kone, we are doing technician assistant, which is one of the most kind of important thing for our technicians who are our most valuable assets, and we are providing on the spot analysis of what could be wrong, help them to make better fixes and analyze the machines faster. So there's quite a lot of work going on in chatbots, and the most important thing, how do we get different sources of information, provide the right information, because some of these are for safety critical, because people life would be at risk. So we want to make sure whatever suggestions we give, they are kind of real, at the same time not harmful, that it doesn't kill someone. And in this way, there's quite a lot of work going on in this area across industries and many different. And of course, customer service has changed quite a lot. For example, suddenly the chatbots don't look real chatbots now; they look more human, and you are able to solve much more problems with them. So at the same time, you are always guessing: is it an AI or is it a chatbot? And many times you cannot guess what they are. But it's nice that with UI, at least in EU applications, you will be made sure that you will be told that you are chatting with the AI. And of course, I think one of the most important thing is also how these models are getting smaller. In For a brief point of time, the models just were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there were concerns that they are getting ginormous now. And now they started to finding ways of how to make it smaller, but at the same time, because we most of the time we don't need general purpose models, because if you're doing something in chemistry, you don't need general purpose models, huge model for you. So how do you make specialized models for medicine and some of these things which are tailored content them, and then deploying such AI model on edge devices for us is also one of the most exciting topics, to get these models right into the cars and they are chatting with you. And these are exciting areas where the future is going, let's say.
Yeah. Excellent. Before we wrap this discussion up, um, there is it's kind of a situation where great progress in generative AI will help the productivity. But then when you say that it can act as an agent, that means it also people will lose their job, right? So it will also work in the other way around. Now to keep ourselves up, how to equip ourselves to use future generative AI? What skills do we need, and how we can um, develop those skills so that we are ready and we know how to use this kind of AI
Hmm.
tools?
But I think it's a very interesting question. So because there was quite a lot of fear mongering initially when the generative AI was released last year, or saying that programmers would be losing jobs, and we haven't seen any of such. Okay, there may be slight changes, but we haven't seen such drastic mayhem in the job market, let's say. What it has actually done is basically it's actually helped our programmers or software engineers to get more productive. They're able to solve much more than before, and that is what it has enabled. So, and learning about this is one of the most important things. So I think, let's say, this is one of the most important thing. I or every person should understand this, because it's like uh, you have lived through the generation where such advances were made. So if your grandchildren ask that, you say that yes, during my time there was this kind of a technology that was developed, and I know about it. And there's a lot of classes. And for example, at the corporate level, we are having sessions where we are providing, educating. So I myself gave almost six common lectures in our AI community meetings, trying to educate our companies, company-wide people in all factions, like marketing, sales, engineers, everybody are participated to try to understand what it does. Everybody doesn't have to understand how it works, but you need to know when to use it, what are the limitations, what are the ethics, and how does it help me. And then there are a lot of information out in the internet, and everybody has to somehow uh, make use of it and get better. So it's just helping you to be more productive. Of course, there might be slight imbalances here and there, but somewhere the jobs are lost and somewhere the new jobs are created. But I don't, at this point of time, I don't think it has impacted anybody's bread and butter
Yeah.
in a negative way, let's say.
So, yeah, it means that in the future, irrespective of whether you're an expert or not, at one way or other way, you will be using this. It means
Yes,
that this kind of education has to be a part of the curriculum of future students, irrespective of what they're studying, because every area will be
of
using
course,
it. So, for
yes, of
example,
course,
ethics
and
and policies and how to use it correctly should be taught at very early stage, not just after when we start to use, but it can be
yes,
introduced, and there should be a bigger change in the curriculum as early as possible.
exactly. And I think it should go into the school's curriculum. So try to educate children about the pros and cons of these systems, because
Mm.
I think even now probably children are using these tools, or if they're not using, their parents are showing them, because these tools are providing. For example, I with my child, we use ChatGPT to make funny stories and be interesting puzzle questions. So we interact with it. So, but at the same time, it's necessary to tell them that whatever you hear may not be the truth, and what are the limitations, and the children have to know these things. And that's the thing which is falls solely on parents and also schools.
Yeah, but this can be a bit of challenging because it becomes interesting. Just looking at in the science and chemistry, when I started my summer research, I used to go to the library. There used to be chemistry abstract. These abstracts we have to search the molecular formula, and then you go and find the correct reference. You go to the library, dig out from 1940s, 20s journal reference, use that, and suddenly in 2000s there came the SciFinder, which you can just write the formula name of chemical, you get all the references, so people don't go to library and look at the chemical abstract database anymore. And after that all the search engines came, they don't even use a SciFinder. So however, not able to get this. So now it will be the same. They will not use any search engine, but they will use AI. But the reliability goes down all the time with this change. So how to keep this, that you can still get the same kind of reliability in the developing tools and systems. This, for example, I have experienced this a challenge, and maybe it's also necessary that this kind of
Mm.
discussion should go forward.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about this topic, because, at least in my opinion, so you get the same information if you use Perplexity, and then Perplexity actually gives you specific citations where it took this information from, and then using those, probably you get back to the source data and you know where this is coming from. And so, as far as we have these cross references, which and we see that it's not hallucination, I think that.
Yeah,
It should be quite productive for
yeah,
everyone. So so that's what I thought, that because we
yeah.
whenever I take something, I ask something, then I always go to the reference and see, okay, this is coming from there, and it's just one step to re-authenticate myself that the information which I am presenting has been derived from a specific. Okay, whether those references are legitimate or not, it's your call, but at least it does what it does.
Yeah, it can be discipline dependent, and it can also be the accessibility of data. For example, not everything is openly available. That's one of the challenges today in the scientific
Yes,
world, right? So whether there
yes,
is an
exactly.
agreement between these kind of systems that was developed, or data is accessible, and it will then only give accessible data. So that might limit some of the most important information. So
Yeah,
there are
I
maybe
think.
many things to fix.
But at the same time, it actually, okay, it will give you more information about those in the open archives, basically because it can access. But then, which have those journals which have been behind the bars, it basically is accessing just abstract. So then it is basically giving you references based on what the abstract is, and then you go to the abstract. Then if you have a university license through it, then you access the paper. So at least it takes the abstract from those other journals.
Okay, this has been very interesting and fruitful discussion, and thank you, Karthik, for enlightening us about various aspects in a very easily understandable way. And we hope to have more discussion as this area develops and becomes more and more interesting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Napa. It was nice to have a chat. See you again. Bye.